Hello everyone. In today's video, we're going to be continuing our series on Python, and we're going to be taking a look at something called incrementers. Now, one of the things you probably noticed when we were taking a look at variable assignments is it can get a little messy sometimes. And one of the things that we have at our disposal are little kind of shorthand methods to basically make the process a little bit simpler. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go ahead and create a variable called num1, and I'm going to go ahead and set it to a value of 5, because why not? What I want to do is I want to take num1 and I want to add 1 to it, and I want to reassign it back to num1. Maybe I'm doing some kind of loop or something like that. So the normal way I would do that is I'd simply type in num1 equals, mum1, I guess we could have some mums too. We'd say num1 plus 1. Now, if I were to come here and print num1, what I would expect it to do is to have it a value of 6. And the reason I know that, of course, is when we take 5, this becomes 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. Reassign it to 1. Run the code, and what you'll observe here on the bottom is that it is indeed the number 6, which is exactly what we wanted. Now, this can get a little messy. It feels a little, it's a little bit of work to write all this out every time. And I know you're sitting there going, really? So there's actually a shortcut way built into Python to make this a little bit easier. I'll go ahead and say old way. Long way. Let's call it long way, not old way. It isn't the old way. Short way. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a new variable. And I'm going to call this one 64 because reasons. And I want to go ahead and add 1 to 64. So instead of writing it out the way I did before, I'm simply going to type in num2 plus equals 1. Now, if I print num2, I'll go ahead and num2 right here. One of the things you'll notice is this will take the value of num2 and it'll increment it by 1. Now, if I run this code, you'll notice my new value down here becomes 65. And now the reason it does that is because it took num2, which was 64, added 1 to it, and went ahead and resaved it as num2. Now, this is a very, very quick and handy way to do it. Now, one of the things you're probably saying here is like, can we do that for other operators too? Yeah, you could actually go pretty hard if you wanted. Yeah, so you can actually go on with that. And almost all the different primary operators are actually supported inside of Python for this purpose. You notice we can add 1, we can subtract 1, we can multiply 2, or we can divide, or we can do modulo, and of course, we could also come down here and do integer division if that's something that we want to do. And the nice thing about this is a great little shorthand method to do it. Now, some people, of course, are sitting here saying, but what if I had 2 variables? Can I just add them together? Well, let's go ahead and play with that a little bit. Let me grab a variable called A, and I'll set this one to 10 this time. I'll create a variable called B. I'll set this one to 20 to keep it nice and simple. And of course, I want to go ahead and take the variable C, and I want to go ahead and make that a combination of A and B. Now, normally what you would say is, this is simple. I'll say C equals A plus B. Nice and simple. That will simply take the 2 different values and assign them to the variable of C. Now, what if I wanted to increment them like a crazy person individually? There's nothing stopping me from doing C plus equals A, and then, of course, doing C plus equals B. Now, you're looking at this going, seriously? That seems a little goofy. And I absolutely agree with you on that. That is a little goofy. It definitely was much more clear and easy to understand when I saw A plus B than I incremented C twice by a variable. Now, the only time I've ever seen people do this is like they're doing something like this. They need to divide that by 2 for whatever reason before they add it onto the other one. But in my opinion, I think that gets a little bit messy. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you have to be careful. And again, this can get very complicated. Another very, very common mistake that I see people make, especially new students, is they'll do this. They'll just have this A plus B just kind of chilling here. And I like the fact that it identifies as something that's wrong here. And the thing that's wrong is that if I were to just go ahead and print C, I'll go ahead and keep it nice and simple here, print C. If I were to run it up at the top of the screen, you'll observe that it says 0 because C is a value of 0. Our A plus B never got assigned a value. We just computed it and basically ran away. It's kind of an interesting problem that you run into. So that's just one of those things that we need to be kind of mindful of, is that if we do a calculation, take the time to actually do it. Now, if you're a really goofy person, you could do this. Now, your brain is going to go, what does that mean? Now, if I run it, you'll observe the fact it says 30. Yes, I'm taking C, which was 0, and I'm adding 30 to it. So C plus 30 would be 30. But again, this is dangerous because if I were to go up here and did this action, nothing bad would happen because, of course, C is a value of 0. We don't have to deal with that problem. But for some reason, C was 1, and that's not going to do it. 2 will definitely break it. There we go. We end up with 60 instead of the desired 30. Now, if I came in here and fixed that and basically remove that, you will notice we get our original value back just like that without having to deal with that kind of consequence that you probably have. So be very careful when you start using incrementers that you don't accidentally Now, there's one more thing we'll take a look at with this one as well, and that's going to be the concept of the plus plus. So for those of you who are C++ or Java or any fans, you probably noticed this guy. So if I create a variable called d, set it to 5, and I say d++, print d. Now your brain says, this is just how it is over in C. But if I were to run this code, you will see that it freaks out. And you say, I did it backwards. I meant to do plus plus d. That'll get it to work. I run it again, and you'll see here that, that doesn't achieve much of anything. It's basically I'm adding to d. Nothing bad happens. But it did not increment 5 by 1. There is no Python shorthand way to do it. There's some fun, I guess you would call them sort of hacky ways to do it, but it's definitely not something that you have to worry about too much because, again, plus equals 1 is going to work just as well. Enjoy.